We're beginning this section of Module 2, talking about the path to a new primer, and the universals of language and what that means for primer construction. We'll be looking at the common elements for all languages, some basics of linguistics, and how that affects our primer construction. So we think about a language and what are the building blocks of languages. You can see here this chart that has the different parts that make up how we construct a language. Linguistics is the study of the nature, structure, and variation of language, including phonetics, phonology, morphology, grammar, sociolinguistics, and pragmatics. These seem like a lot of words if you haven't seen them before. We're going to talk about each section as we go through this and how it will affect. So first we're going to talk about phonology. And on our chart here you can see that we have the phone, phonetics, phonology, morphology, in the morpheme in the word, the phrase, the clause, the sentence, and the discourse. But now we're going to look at phonetics. So phonetics is simply talking about the study of the sound waves made by the human vocal organs for communication. So you're able to hear me today because I have air flowing through vocal apparatus, which makes sound. And this helps us produce, identify, analyze, and describe sounds of any given language. The sounds include consonants, vowels, and non-pulmonic consonants. We'll talk about each of those. So, like I said, the source of the sound is in the vocal apparatus, all this part of your face and your throat. And in this chart here, we see some of those different parts that go into making up sounds. So we have here the lips, the teeth, and there's here the alveolar ridge. You can feel with your tongue right behind your teeth. There's a little ridge there. You have the oral cavity that's here, and you have the tongue, the tip, the front, and then the back and the root of the tongue. And all of these things can go up to determine how a sound is made. Another section, then we have our nasal cavity, which is that part up in here. You have the nasal sounds like oh. And so through the nostrils and the nasal cavity, the sound can come through, the air can come through making a specific sound. And we also have the back of the throat. We have the glottis, which starts and stops the air, allows the air to flow or not flow. We have the folds of the larynx, and the larynx, the vocal box, the epiglottis, that's here, a little thing that vibrates. And then you can see also here that root of the tongue and all that comes. And I didn't talk about before, the uvula that hangs down from the throat, and the top of the mouth and the palate, the hard and the soft palate. So each of these, a sound that can be determined, categorized by where it occurs and what is happening at the time the sound is made. So to help identify these sounds and be able to talk about them in a way that makes sense among different linguists and stuff, and or to categorize different languages, they came up with the International Phonetic Alphabet. And this just helps linguists to be able to communicate clearly and to identify sounds. So you can see here along the top of the chart, and then along the bottom you have labial, which means two lips, labial dental, which means lips and the teeth, dental, which is the teeth only, alveolar, which is that ridge back behind, postal veolar, which is just a little bit behind that ridge in your mouth. And then we have the retroflex, where the tongue is curled back. Palatal, where it's against the palate and the top of your mouth. Velar, where it's skimming back into the back of the throat. Uvular, which is even further. And then the glottal, which is you stop the air. Now on this side we have plosive, which means it's going to, so it's kind of the nasal we talked about. The trill, which is often the the tap or flap. Fricative, we have that sissing sound. Lateral fricative. Go back here a minute. Approximate and lateral approximate. We're not going to worry about all these sounds. Just kind of know that linguists have taken great care to identify and categorize and catalog the sounds in the languages. You also have different things for vowels. Now, vowels aren't as a vowel, the sound is open, and it kind of depends on how the shape of the mouth is and kind of where the sound starts. So, like you have ah, a, e, o, u, and then there's all those sounds in between, like I. And so these indicate the shape of the mouth, and all that kind of thing. And you have the non-pulmonic consonants, which are you have clicks like, and so some languages actually include those clicks as kind of letters or sounds that have meaning in their words. Down in South Africa, particularly, voiced implosives. Buh. And I can't do all of these, but just know that they're ejectives by label ba, da, ka, and some different kinds of things like that. If you are interested in hearing all the different sounds and all that, you can go to this website and you can click on things to hear the sounds and what they do. So that's the phonetics, the phone, the sound that's going there. And so like if you study phonetics, you study every sound that can ever occur within the human apparatus. So then we talk about the phonology, and that's the study of how sounds are organized and used in natural languages. And so the phonology of a language is all the sounds that occur in that language. And that includes an inventory of sounds and their features, rules which specify how sounds interact with each other. So like sometimes a sound will have one sound if it's by one letter, and if it's by another letter, it'll have another sound, or it'll shape the sound. I know Portuguese has some of those where it's that way. When we think about phoneme, it's the smallest phonetic unit in a language that is capable of conveying a distinction in the meaning. For example, in English, we have the phonemes m and b. Because if you take the word at and you add m, mat, or b, bat, it totally changes the meaning of the word. So if you're more interested in the English phonemes, so there's a lot. I mean, like in the English alphabet, we said there's 26 letters, but there's well over 26 phonemes or sounds that are in the English language, or things that can change the meaning of the words. So you can go and check out these websites, like I said, to do that, and I'll provide a link for those in your lesson today.